Dear Tay, dear respected elder brothers and sisters, dear community. Today is the 12th of June, the year 2026, and we are in the full moon meditation hall of New Hamlet, Plum Village. And we are on the 4th day of our June retreat. Yesterday I received some great advice about how to give this Dharma talk. And one of my younger sisters, she said, "Sister, either one, you make people cry so hard that it's impossible for more suffering to come up, or you make people laugh so hard that it's also impossible for more suffering to come up. So you have two options. Option one, option two." I thought I might go with the third option, which is to have a Dharma talk a la carte. So it's not my choice whether you laugh or you cry, but maybe it would be your choice whether you laugh or cry this morning. And a Dharma talk a la carte is you have an opportunity to come and ask questions. You can ask however many questions. I reserve the right not to answer. As I remember in one of Tay's Dharma talks to the monastics, he said, "Okay, come up and ask your questions." And he asked so many, he passed the mic around and so many brothers and sisters asked questions. And in the end, he said, "Okay, well, that's a lot of questions. That's enough questions. And so it's enough." And then he ended the Dharma talk. So when I was thinking of, Dharma talk a la carte, maybe I can do that too. Walking in the footsteps of my teacher. So anyhow, we have an open mic this morning. We can consider it as kind of like a town hall. And for those of us outside who would like to contribute to this Dharma talk tomorrow, please come in and say your piece. What are some of your concerns for the Sangha at this moment in time? For our Sangha, what role the Sangha is playing in our world at this time? What role the Sangha is playing for us personally and in the lives of our family and friends and workspaces. So we can come up and ask a few questions. If you want to talk longer, I won't stop you, because then I will say time's up and, I don't have to say anything anymore. I don't know if anyone is happy to come up and to contribute any questions you have. So at the end of your questions, then maybe I can say something. Or even better, if I could invite my elder brothers and sisters to come up and say something. Anyone? Please come. Please come. Or we can pass the mic to you.
Dear Thai, dear Sister Changkong, dear beloved Sangha, my question is, what is the role of Sangha in creating justice? We talk a lot about eliminating injustice. And we talk a lot about transformation within the Sangha, but within the outer Maha Sangha of our lives and society, what role do we play as a Sangha in creating justice? Thank you.
And also, if we could allow some folks from, and invite some folks from Global South to come up, or from our BIPOC communities to come up as well. Yes.
I will pass the mic if anyone wants from the Global South to speak now. It's you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Dear Thai, dear Suko, dear community, the last time I was in this hall, I was offered the opportunity to ask a question, and I did not, and I regretted it. As a member of the incoming generation, a voice of the youth, on my heart is an awareness of the freshness of our generation and desire to express ourselves authentically within the Sangha. We come from many diverse cultures, North and South, genders, neurotypes, and when we practice to be our true selves, it can feel like we're creating disharmony or like there isn't space for our neurodivergence or gender expression and many of the expectations of our dear mentors and teachers feel in contrast to our freedom to express ourselves fully and to experience acceptance in this community, in our monasteries in particular. And I ask for your guidance and wisdom about how we can create more space for pluralism, for diversity, for openness to different types of expressions and experiences within the order of interbeing and our Mahasangha at large. Thank you.
My name is Emelina. I'm originally from Costa Rica, even though I live close to Plum Village. And my question is today, we all come to the Sangha with our suffering, with our wounds, and with our pain. And sometimes due to that wounds and pain, we take the place of a victim inside the Sangha. And my question is, how can we overcome the feeling of being a victim to really support the growth of the Sangha?
Dear respected Thai, dear Mahasangha, I am Benyaguna from Vietnam, but I study at the International Theravada Buddha Missionary University in Myanmar, and I was lucky to meet Thai in Vietnam 2005, and ordained at OI member 2013 in Thailand. My OI name is Sit Still in Suffering. So I'm very happy to sit still with Thai heart during I was here over 2 weeks. But I really get aspiration to practice, to come back to the Buddha time, that walking and walking meditation, arm round, 1 meal per day. So I've been practice that in Nepal, India, Thailand, so wonderful. So I came here and to connect with the Sangha, and I wonder if it's possible to do like that in Europe, to walk through many countries, and arm round and 1 meal per day. So I practice eating and drinking but one time per day, and it's wonderful. And like I see that Walk for Peace in America, or like Thich Minh Tuệ in Vietnam, and now he's in Nepal. So it's amazing, and many people inspired to let go, because we have only 3 drops and 1 bata, 1 pole. So this is a very amazing. So symbolism, Thank you.
Hello, dear Thai, dear Sangha. My name is Allison, and I am coming from the Wake Up New York Sangha. My question is, what are your thoughts on this quote that resonated with me? It was an essay article on parallax.org called Ubuntu and Interbeing. Sanghas carry the same patterns of power and exclusion as wider society, often replicating the inequalities they claim to transcend. Okay. Should I start from the beginning? Okay. Hello, my name is Allison. I come from New York City. I would like to hear your thoughts on the following quote that resonated with me. It's from an essay article that was published on parallax.org titled Ubuntu and Interbeing, written by an OI member. Sanghas carry the same patterns of power and exclusion as wider society, often replicating the inequalities they claim to transcend. Belonging to one does not guarantee inclusion, nor does reciting mindfulness trainings dissolve racism, sexism, or imperial habits. This isn't condemnation, but clear seeing. Sangha is made of humans, flawed, yet capable of change. Only by recognizing and transforming how bias and exclusion live within our practice spaces can we truly embody the beloved community we aspire to build. Thank you.
Could you pass the mic to our friends?
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, in French pour ma part, je me demande pourquoi il faut une Sangha, par exemple, BIPOC, alors que nous sommes tous là, et que quand je vis dans une Sangha BIPOC, j'ai pas forcément tout le monde qui est là. Alors c'est vrai, on peut parler de sujets qui... Ah pardon.
So, dear Thai, dear Sangha, our friend wonders why we need a BIPOC Sangha.
Parce que dans notre... quand je vais dans une Sangha BIPOC, je peux me retrouver 2, 3 personnes, ou plus ici.
Because when I go to a BIPOC Sangha, maybe we are 2, 3 people or more when we gather here.
Et je sais que la Sangha est puissante, mais je trouve que nous parlons de sujets qui nous touchent.
And I find that the Sangha is powerful, and but we speak about topics that touch our hearts.
Mais il me semble que ça nous concerne tous. Et moi, comme les enseignants peuvent être heureux, ça nous concerne tous. Il me semble tout ce qui a trait à la différence de couleur nous concerne tous.
But this regards all of us, and as well as the happy teachers can change the world. I think this is an issue for all of us. It belongs to all of us.
Alors je me dis que si nous devons guérir notre société, il serait bien peut-être que tout le monde entende les souffrances générées par le colonialisme, l'impérialisme. Nous en avons tous, vous comme moi, quelle que soit notre couleur, au fond, nous vivons tous les conséquences de ce système.
But all of us are touched by imperialism, colonialism, and we all suffered, and we all are touched by the consequences of this system. So if we want to heal our society, we all need to look into that.
Et parfois, dans ma sangha locale, j'ai plein de sanghas du coup, mais j'ai la sangha BIPOC, la sangha Happy Teacher, la sangha... voilà, donc ça fait beaucoup de sanghas, mais...
Sometimes, since Laurentia belongs to many sanghas, like BIPOC Sangha, Happy Teachers Sangha, another Sangha, it's many sanghas.
Je suis triste de voir qu'il est difficile pour moi de pouvoir parler de ces difficultés sans que l'autre ne se sente attaqué, sans que l'autre se sente touché.
So it's difficult for Laurentia to feel that she can speak about these difficulties without feeling like hurting another person, like without feeling that the other person is touched and it's difficult.
Donc c'est peut-être pas une question, je sais pas.
Maybe this is not a question.
Je voudrais aussi dire une chose. Dans les enseignements, on utilise souvent le mot noir pour parler des mauvaises pensées, des mauvaises habitudes. Et
So I would like to add something else. Is that in the teachings, often we use the word black to speak about bad feelings, bad emotions, negative thoughts.
je dois vous avouer qu'à chaque fois, lorsque l'on utilise ce mot de cette manière-là, je me sens ramenée à être la mauvaise pensée, la mauvaise personne.
So I must tell you that every time I hear this expressed in this way, it brings in me the feeling that I am the bad thought, the bad person, the bad feeling.
Alors, c'est comme s'il y avait blanc, c'est waouh, le paradis, and black, it's enfer.
It's just like if we say white is paradise and black is hell.
Alors je pense que les mots ont un sens et sont importants.
And I feel that words have meanings and they matter.
Merci.
Merci. Merci Thai. Merci la Sangha.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, my name is Indira and I'm from India. So I happen to be a lawyer and also an activist. I was just marveling at the kind of sharing that is taking place here, and I was thinking that it is impossible to get this kind of space in a court. You just rush, and you're just thrown out. My question is, I stand for... So while I try to not take sides after having practiced for many years, I do stand for the urban poor, the oppressed, so to speak, in court. I cannot imagine standing and representing our government. So my question is, when my language has become far more compassionate, so rather than blame the municipality or the police for atrocities, I try to point out to the flaws in the system so that we can invite them to be part of the solution. But nonetheless, I think we tend to otherize the oppressor as activists as well. So my question was, how do we also work with not otherizing the oppressor so that they don't get, so they tend to fasten themselves to their points of view and get even worse very often. And so that was my question. How do we, we are very comfortable with not otherizing the oppressed because we stand up for that cause and it also seems to be the right thing to do. But sometimes I feel that the oppressors are or have also suffered a lot of trauma, but we tend to feel very comfortable with just sliding towards blaming them and, or ridiculing them. So, yeah. So thank you for listening.
I don't know how many S's are in the word oppressor. One?
Cher Thai.
Probably for many. Okay.
Dear Thai, cher Sangha. J'ai ma traductrice à côté. Je sens combien le village des pruniers veut inclure le plus possible, être dans la non-discrimination.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, I can feel how Plum Village and all the Sangha wants to include everyone.
Mais actuellement, je me rends compte que les prix étant de plus en plus élevés, 2/3 de ma Sangha ne peut plus venir au village des pruniers.
But in this moment, I can observe that because the prices has rised up so much, has increased so much, it's like 2/3 of my local Sangha cannot come anymore.
Je me demandais si on pouvait s'asseoir ensemble et réfléchir à ce problème et essayer d'y apporter une solution pour que les pauvres ne soient pas ceux qui sont discriminés actuellement au sein du village des pruniers.
So I wonder if we could sit together and contemplate this question, this issue, and try to find some solutions so the poor people, the people who cannot afford the prices that are now in Plum Village, can afford to come and can be with us.
Thank you.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, I'm Ananya, I'm from India, and I work with children, I work on child rights. My question is that in India, we have close to 40% of the population who are just below the poverty line or are hovering around the poverty line. And a lot many are girls and women. And I wonder, I really keep asking this question, how do we reach out, at least to this, I would say particularly girls and women, as gender discrimination is very high, with the practice in a way that it makes sense to them when they are trying to feed themselves 2 meals a day. While I understand how much this practice brings about inclusivity, but how do we reach out to these population groups who are discriminated on account of caste, on account of gender, with these practices? Thank you.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, the other side of the coin speaking. I think in my heart I have the same kind of question, and it's also about like a subtle structure of conformity. So with the experience of being in the OI for a little bit, and just having learned the form a little bit, sometimes, I feel a little bit stuck. And just looking for the aliveness within us, within myself. And I'm sure it's just being together, but that's what I have in my heart. How can we not get stuck together? Thank you.
Dear Thai, dear Holy Mahasangha, I think I'm holding this mic because I'm coming with a concern. I'm very curious, not just to our respected Dharma teachers, but to the whole Sangha, to ask. Also, listening now to all these questions, I think they're really important and really wonderful. But somehow I feel the need that some more clarity on what it means to awaken. I see all these bags with the path of awakening, and I hear so many really important questions, but I feel the need that there might be more clarity, maybe even precision, on what it means to awaken. And I wonder if I'm the only one with that concern. And since I explored also other traditions, including Mahamudra and Dzogchen, I see that there is a very clear path. A very clear path to learn to act out of non-self, out of emptiness. And these are important markers on the path. And they really change how I can show up. So I wonder what is the space of that in this tradition.
Dear respected teacher, dear Sister Chankong, dear respected Sangha community, My heart is beating, even though I've been a performer all my life as a musician, because what I have to say is difficult. My question is difficult. My name is Judy. I live in Jerusalem, Israel. I was ordained here in 2011 by Thai. And Plum Village for me is a very, very special place, a place where I can feel safe. Now comes the difficulty. I'm asking you, the monastics, about the discrimination. Thai never discriminated. He was a great, great human being and teacher. But I have recently experienced discrimination because I live in Israel. And I will just tell you briefly how. One is the mentioning of our great teachers, Jesus and spiritual teachers and Muhammad. But there is no mention of Abraham, who was the father of the Israelites, and Ishmael, his son, ended up in Mecca, which eventually led to the creation of Islam. But there is no mention of Abraham or Moses, who brought down the Ten Commandments from Mount Sinai. Why? My other question, which is even more difficult and more, please understand, everybody, this is not political. This is emotional. Brother Phap An, in his message, written letter, mentioned all the suffering in the world and talked about the tragedy in Gaza, which I feel as well. But there was no mention of the massacre of the 7th of October. There's no mention ever here in this wonderful oasis of peace of the suffering of the Israeli people. We are traumatized. I am traumatized by the wars, not one war, but many wars. And I have spent 2 years in bomb shelters, and I have experienced fear and loss. So I would ask you, please, could you look into this important issue of discrimination against Israel? And please use your great Sangha wisdom to address it in a way that will make me feel safe every time I come. Thank you for listening.
Dear sister, dear Tay, and dear beautiful Sangha, thank you for letting me squeeze in one more question. I'm a white guy from Ohio. Over the last couple days, I've heard a lot of my siblings, who are people of color or people from the South, the global South, ask questions about how to make this practice more accessible, more affordable, how to build practice centers in South America, how to build sanghas in Africa. Maybe this is a question for my brothers and sisters and siblings in the global North, especially those of us who are white. But I feel like those questions are directed to us. And I would like to know how we can cultivate a larger heart of generosity and dana in this community in order to support those who need support.
So perhaps we can all enjoy one sound of the bell. This is quite like stirring up the collective consciousness of our community. And many seeds have been touched in each one of us, and perhaps even some insights beginning to bubble up. Even before you hear any answers, perhaps each of us have already begun to formulate some kind of understanding, some kind of insight to all of the questions and concerns that our Sangha has raised this morning. So we can enjoy one sound of the bell just to sit with that. So dear Sangha, I think for each of us it's very important to remember our first contact with Plum Village and how that felt. And I love to listen, just to sit. In any conversation, I really enjoy sitting and learning about everyone's kind of origin stories. When you first encountered Plum Village and what that was like. And I remember for me how special it was, and also how foreign. And there's one feeling that I really remember, which is how small I felt for some reason. How small I felt in front of the ocean of the Sangha. It was really like standing before an ocean, a real ocean, being in the Sangha. I had that feeling when I first came. I felt like I was standing before a great ocean. And there were forces much bigger than myself. And I really wanted to join the ocean, but didn't know how. Well, here we are. And I remember the feeling of just the smallness, feeling small. And when I first came, we were put in the cooking. There were 4 of us. We wanted to come to be aspirants in Plum Village. So we were put in cooking teams right away. And that was quite an experience. A very humbling experience. I thought I would come and if I said, oh, I want to become a nun, then I would receive special training. Well, special training was, okay, you go to the kitchen and cook for about 300 people for the summer. And at the time, I didn't know how to cook, so I was tasked with pot washing for the kitchen. And so all my clothes, every single meal, every single layer that I had on was just soaked. And I remember one day, it was a very memorable experience for me. I was washing one of the bigger pots. And as you know, some pots here you can actually, if you put it on the side, you can actually crawl in and hide in it for a while. Anyhow, I was scrubbing one of those pots, and suddenly I had a weird feeling. I couldn't hear anything because, you know, the sound of the scrubber and the metal and the pots. So I was inside the pot, just visually. You can visualize this. And then I just had a really weird feeling. So I got out of the pot, which I regretted greatly the moment I got out of the pot. And then Tay and the Mahasangha was doing walking meditation past me. The force was so quiet, so thunderously silent, that almost half the Sangha had gone past before I'd even noticed. And so there I was scrubbing pots, and there the Sangha was doing very noble, beautiful, silent walking meditation. And never in my life did I want to tuck myself even smaller and just disappear in the pot again. And yeah, so the feeling of like smallness, the greatness of the Sangha was, I always had that feeling from, of course, experiences like that, it really spells it out in caps for you. You know, how powerful the Sangha is. But yeah, I always had that feeling of how small I was in the great ocean of the Sangha. And I think even 20-something years later, as I'm sitting before you, I still feel maybe even smaller. Because, yeah, we've never had a gathering this big for the OI retreat, and never before from 44 different countries at the same time. So I am sitting here feeling quite small. At the same time encouraged, because many of my brothers and sisters sent me luck this morning. And, you know, you can do it. Good luck. Jayo. So many different languages of encouragement in our community. And not only do I feel small in front of the Sangha, I also feel small in front of the Dharma, in terms of my understanding. And I know I haven't listened to all of Tay's Dharma talks. Has anybody here? So that's just one body of Dharma, let alone the whole of the Buddhist literature, which I can't tell you how limited I am in my understanding of the whole of the Buddhist literature, but the ocean of Dharma is vast. And in front of this ocean, I feel quite small. I feel very small. And I think sometimes when I think feeling small within the Sangha or feeling small in front of the Dharma, it could be a good thing. Because actually my education before I came into the Sangha was complete opposite, you know. oh, you can do anything you want with your life, and you know, all those lessons of individual greatness, I guess, that I'd received throughout my life. It was completely opposite of how I felt when I was in the Sangha. And being so small in front of the vast ocean of Dharma, I felt it is a good thing. Because I don't have to claim to know anything. I can just continue to be small and continue to learn. Because I think one of the greatest things that, characteristics, traits, I can say, that I picked up from Tay is that he continued to be a lifelong learner. He never stopped learning for a single moment in his life. And so many of the Dharma talks, sometimes we have the opportunity to kind of go to the hermitage, and some of us are working on some books, so then we ask permission to look at his notebooks, that he wrote, his notes that he wrote for the series of Dharma talks. And then I flip through the notebooks and I think, oh my goodness, was Tay talking to an alien? Because the insights are so deep and profound, and on some of the notes, I know that he's not said in any single Dharma talk. And so I'm sitting there looking at the notebook and thinking, I really wish Tay could give a Dharma talk on this particular sentence, or sometimes it's just a word, something like that. So Tay was a great learner. He continued to learn, and I think he kind of transmitted that spirit of learning, like the need to learn throughout our lives, the need to learn throughout our personal lives, throughout the life of our Sangha. It's a very important kind of spirit. And just speaking about learning, it's not double-sided. Did anyone write all these questions down? Or you can take a photo for me, please. Yeah. Okay, thank you, sister. So this is when you're allowed to use devices. It's okay. No, it's okay. Yeah, thank you. I'm just buying time, I hope you know. Okay, so speaking about being small in front of the Dharma. I don't know if you remember on the first day, Tay spoke about the 4 pairs and 8 kinds of holy people. Okay, so that's 4 pairs and 8 kinds. And that talk he gave in 2002. And so the 4 pairs are stream enter, and then you have the direction and the fruit, and then you have once returner, and then you have no returner, and then you have arhat. Right? And each of this is a pair. So they all have their fruits. And then yesterday, Sister Trudy, she spoke about the 4 fruits of Plum Village, which are, I have arrived, and then going as a river, and then interbeing of the 2 truths and time. And then you have, what's the last one? Ripening. Oh, well, some of you have done your homework. Ripening at every moment. So, I don't know if you've picked it up, but this is an iteration of this, the new iteration of this. And Tay did this in 2012, I think. Now, I don't know if you remember when he did stream enter, once returner, no returner, and he's like, finished. You know, I mean, you just have to come back once more and finish. Done. And he did that kind of gesture. And all we get from that is, maybe that's how it feels like when it's done. Done. Finished. Something like that. Well, in 2004, Tay said in one of his Dharma talks, you know, he talks about stream enter, once returner, no returner, arhat. It's like, once returner, no returner. What's all of that? What's that all about? What's that all about? And so in 2004, he taught these 4 fruits as dwelling happily, which is dwelling happily in the present moment. And then this was I have arrived, I am home. And then interbeing, he spoke about interbeing in terms of, you know, flowers made of non-flower elements. We are made of ancestors, etc., all non-us elements. he hadn't really spoken about the, I don't remember, but maybe he didn't speak about interbeing of truths and time in that Dharma talk. And then the fourth one was no birth. Or birthlessness, no birth, no death. So these were the four fruits as how they looked like in 2004. And that's the first new iteration of this teaching on the 4 pairs and 8 kinds of holy people. And so 2004 it became this version, and 2012 it became this version. And some of you probably know this, so if you do, there are quite a few scholars in our Sangha, so like I say, I stand before you very small. So we can see that the Dharma and Te's teachings are always evolving. And now some of us might have entered the stream, the Sangha, maybe in the 90s. And there was a certain way that Te taught the Dharma in the 90s. And we might have entered in 2002 and received this kind of teaching. But maybe if we entered in 2004 and didn't receive any of the teachings from the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s. I'm trying to see if anyone was there besides Sister Chen Kong from the 50s. Te's teachings continue to evolve. So if we come in 2004, we'll think, oh, these are the 4 fruits. And we might not even recognize that this is the new iteration. Or we come in 2012 and we hear, oh, the 4 fruits of Plum Village is this. And then someone from 2002 comes along and says, no, the 4 fruits of Plum Village are this. 2004. And then someone from 2002 goes, no, the 4 fruits are this. And anyhow, we get in a lot of different arguments over what is the right Dharma. But I think we can see that Te was always trying to how to make the practice more accessible. Because in our time right now, does this make sense? Honestly, when you heard about Te talking about this on day 1, how many of you thought it made complete sense? 100, okay, I bow to you. Because I was also in the audience, what does that mean? And then I was happy that in this talk he also said, what does that even mean? So even Te himself said, what does that even mean? No returner, once returner. What does that mean? So then he gave a new iteration that was a lot more accessible for each of us. Because dwelling happily in the present moment is accessible to all of us. And especially in this community of long-time practitioners, we've experienced this. We can say that with some amount of conviction that we have experienced this. We have experienced moments of happiness. We know how to access happiness in the present moment. And then, I have arrived, I am home. We've been practicing for a while. Well, I don't dare say this with any conviction. That's why you have the direction and the fruit. Are we going in the direction of, are we arriving? Or have we already experienced that sense of arrival? And Tay also says that this is a kind of, you know how in Buddhist teachings we always speak about the 3 doors of liberation, which are I have to make sure you're staying awake, so emptiness, signlessness, and aimlessness. Can you identify the new iteration of these teachings? Yes, nowhere to go, nothing to do, 1. I have arrived, I am home is also an iteration of aimlessness. Because in this moment, there's nothing to attain. There's nothing that we need to seek for. This moment is full in itself. Because this moment contains all moments, it is already complete in itself. And so we can allow ourselves to not seek. We can allow ourselves to arrive in the present moment. And that is Tay's new iteration of aimlessness. A very classic teaching in Buddhism. Now, signlessness. Can you see the new iteration of signlessness in any of these? Ashley, I'm just tricking you, but you can see the new iteration of this, emptiness, signlessness, and aimlessness. If you look deeply, you can identify in all of these fruits. And this is the new iteration where you can really touch. What does it mean, signlessness? Because sometimes these can be just ideas. These can just be notions. And how are we turning these ideas, notions, into insights and into lived experience in our everyday life? And so Tay's 2012 iteration of the 4 fruits, you can really see how they can be applied to our daily life. And beyond that, you can see how these teachings are completely iterated in the 14 mindfulness trainings, which, when applied, you can really see how you can live out these insights. You can live the insight of emptiness, you can live the insight of signlessness, and you can live the insights of aimlessness. So what I want to say is the Dharma is always evolving, and can we recognize its different iterations? And these different iterations, how are they helping us to touch insight? How are they helping us to live our lives more deeply, to be more connected? There was a question, well, is there a clear methodology? Is there a clear path to awakening? Well, my question there you go. And here you can, as students of Te, we can all see how maybe revolutionary Te was. He was not caught in certain ways of teaching the Dharma, or certain notions, certain teachings. He wasn't caught in one form of them. He continued to evolve the teachings so that they can become more and more accessible. And that is with Dharma. And with the Sangha, it's the same. The Sangha will continue to evolve. If the Dharma continues to evolve, the Sangha for sure will continue to evolve. And if both the Sangha and the Dharma continue to evolve, guess what else is evolving? Yes, all of us. The Buddha is also evolving. So sometimes there are teachings that we may not recognize in its original form, and they may take on the new forms. They may take on many new forms. And the question, the only important question is, do the new teachings contain the essence? Do the new forms contain the essence of the old forms? And that is probably the only concern that we might need. Do the new forms contain the essence of the old forms? In a recent retreat, I heard one of my sisters share that there were some concerns that how come Plum Village doesn't talk so much about metta meditation or the sutra on metta, something like that. And my sister, she goes, in answering the question, well, I might be paraphrasing, but she's like, well, have you ever read the book Anger? Because if you don't know how to handle your anger, if you don't know how to manage your anger, that spills over to your loved ones. It affects yourself and your loved ones. So how can you say that you're practicing love when you don't know how to practice with your anger? And then she continued to name a bunch of books by Te. Have you read Anger? Have you read The Art of Communication? Have you read whatever it was? But you can name any of the books, and they're all new iterations of metta meditation. They're all metta meditation in its many different forms. So the order of interbeing, we have to learn how to recognize the interbeing of the teachings and the evolution of the teachings, and to see the signlessness recognize the signlessness of the teachings. And for some of us, this might be very scary because, when there's change, there's always a bit of fear. Especially some of us, when we remember our first contact with Plum Village and how special that was, sometimes we want to preserve it and pass on that same kind of special feeling to this younger generation, to this new generation. We want to hold on to that. Wonderful, because we experienced it as a kind of miracle, right? And we want others to also experience this kind of miracle, this kind of transformation. And so what teachings we receive, the kinds of practices, we don't want to kind of, mess with what works a little bit like that. And so there might be a tendency to keep what we have received and passed on the exact same thing to anyone we meet, really. And I remember in the beginning when I first came, I think in the early 2000s, there seems to be like an explosion of practices, and everything was wonderful. Everything was so wonderful that the schedule became so packed. Every single hour there was some wonderful practice. And I remember going to the Sangha meetings, when we would decide the schedule. If there was any single practice missing, like touching of the earth, someone would say, touching of the earth is not there, we have to include it. And then, because every retreat we go into, we have the intention, how can we make the schedule feel lighter? How can we make the schedule feel more spacious so that each one of us feel like, we're not bound to time? And every retreat meeting is the same. No, we must include touching of the earth. No, we must include beginning anew. No, we must have this on the first day. We must have the presentation on the 5 mindfulness trainings. Well, one thing I encourage not to drop is total relaxation. Because I think, in terms of path to awakening, that's a pretty good one. So, but every retreat gets filled up because we're afraid we might drop something that has been so transformative and special to us and helpful to us. And so every retreat we kind of have to look deeply again. What is transformative at this time? Not to keep everything for every single retreat, but for this particular retreat, what would be transformative? What would be helpful? So it's a process of deep looking before every single retreat. And we have to be brave enough to drop some schedules, as we have done here. As we have done in this retreat, so I would say our Sangha has evolved quite far. From the early 2000s to keeping everything on every single, on the schedule for every single retreat, we've learned how to drop some things. And we've learned how to add in more open spaces. And that is actually, it takes courage to do that. Because the fear is always there. The fear is, if we do it in this new form, are we going to lose the essence? Are we going to lose some of the power that has been there for so many different past retreats? Something like that. And so there's always a crowd that wants change, and there's always a crowd that wants to keep things the same. And whether we want change or we want to keep things the same, it's almost the same process of deep looking. What are we afraid of? What do we think is missing? Or I know that now oh yeah, so that addresses the question how to not get stuck in the form. Don't be afraid. Even Tay could shed some of the forms of the Dharma. The Buddha himself was able to shed some of the forms of the Dharma as well. If you study his teachings from the first Dharma talk to his last few Dharma talks, there's an evolution in the way he spoke about the Four Noble Truths or in the way he spoke about the Noble Eightfold Path. It was constantly evolving. So the Buddha was also unafraid to change his messaging. Tay is also unafraid. I know that our Sangha is increasingly, I don't know if it's increasingly or I think it's a good thing that we're becoming better at identifying suffering through the years. And so it looks like, we can call pluralism. We can bring out issues of discrimination in more concrete ways, like why would there be a need for the BIPOC Sangha? Why is there a need for white awareness? We can we're much better at identifying maybe implicit bias in the Sangha, whether that is implicit bias of race or gender or sexual orientation. We're getting much better at naming the suffering in our Sangha. And that is to say that we're getting that is a kind of awakening. That is a kind of awakening. So what does it mean to awaken? Awaken to what? Are we awakened to the suffering that is there inside ourselves and within our Sangha? It's very simple. It's very simple, and yet profound, the Plum Village methodology. Tay often, this was his theory of change. And don't tell me, oh, yesterday Sister Trudy said something else about theory of change. I don't know if you can recognize the different iterations. So I love that we have to go in. The way out is in one of his. We have to be able to go in to recognize the suffering that is there in ourselves. And then when we can learn how to name the suffering in ourselves, we can we can take care of it. And when we can know how to handle and care for the suffering inside ourselves, then we can start to help another person also to go in and to see the suffering within themselves, and to transform the suffering within themselves. And this person can maybe help another person. And then soon you have a whole community of people who know how to do this. And so they can do it within a whole community, a sangha. And we have practices to help us do this. You all know this. We have practices of deep listening, not just listening to ourselves and our own suffering, but we also need to listen and create opportunities to listen to the suffering that is there within our communities, within our sangha. And sometimes when you're listening to a suffering that is there in the sangha, for instance, why is it necessary to have a BIPOC space? I thought Plum Village was always inclusive already. Why do you need to create something new? It is as if creating a space for BIPOC is kind of splitting the sangha. So there's that fear, you see. There's always fear operating underneath. It's as if we create a space for BIPOC that we are splitting the sangha. But have we listened deeply to the suffering of our BIPOC brothers and sisters? Have we listened deeply to the suffering of our friends from the global south? Have we listened deeply to our suffering from our friends from the global north? Yeah. So we have to create opportunities for the community to do deep looking as individuals and then as community. And when we create opportunities to look deeply, that is a very powerful, one of the most powerful actions that a sangha can take. How do we create space that we have time? Because that's what the community is for. That's what the community is for. We have time. We want to create spaces where we have time to listen to each other And what does that suffering sound like? Have we listened enough to the young people? Have we listened enough to our elders? Because I find each generation we have our own suffering. The younger generation have their suffering. The older generation have their suffering. I might be sort of edging on the aging side. And so there's suffering there. And there's a suffering of those who are in positions of leadership in our community. There's suffering of those who are aging with, how can my aging body still support the practice of this community? These are all real questions. And actually, just taking some time to listen, we can already find so many ways out. We can identify so many ways out. In my in our community right now in Plum Village, we're always thinking about transmission. And for myself personally, I see that I shouldn't wait until I'm 60 or 70 or 80. I don't know if I have that long. I already see that my body is kind of beginning to break down a little bit. And so the issue of how to transition or how to transmit is becoming very, very big. And it's something that's very alive in me at the moment. So in Plum Village, there are a number of us who are constantly thinking about these things. Because our time here, we may think in terms of 10 or 20 years, but for me, 20 years has already passed, and it was like, do I have another 20 years? So we have to think of transmission right away, right in this moment. And we're thinking of it on many different levels. We're thinking of it in terms of on the level of structure. How to build a Plum Village with enough facilities that can support whatever. We're thinking of it on the level of administration. How to pass on all the kind of like non-monastic looking works. Like dealing with the lawyers or accounting or all of these kinds of things. How to create a system where things like that can be passed on easily. And then there's how to transmit what we have learned from Thay and the amount of time that we have to do it. Because the first generation, you can call kind of like First Nations, those who were lucky enough to be in direct contact with Thay. I'm not saying that they're of a different caliber. Just, I know that for myself. It doesn't mean much, being in contact with Thay. But there are things that, being in contact with Thay we might have received, and how can we transmit that so that it doesn't get lost? So these are concerns in our Sangha. And maybe in our local Sanghas, we have OI who are aging. We have Dharma teachers who are aging. And how are we how are we transitioning? How are we thinking of the work of transmitting and transitioning? I know that for the OI community, when the first group of OIs first ordained, they were, I think, 22 to 30 I don't know, from the age of 22 to 30 something. Very young. And they were the head of this order in their 20s. So 60 years later, how have we, as Tay always says, how have we done business? How have we conducted business that, do we have young Dharma teachers in their 20s? Do we have OI in their 20s? It's a koan for us to think about. How can we transmit? And how can the older generation transmit, yield, not gatekeep? Sometimes I have a tendency to do some gatekeeping too. It's like, no, I don't want to share these teachings. I don't want them made available, or whatever. So these are koans for our sangha. These are koans for our sangha. And how can our sangha be a sangha that is alive? In one of Tay's Dharma talks, he said, how can the sangha or the Dharma and the sangha be alive, a living body? How can we be a living body and not a mummy, not mummified? We don't want to be mummified. And so we have to look deeply into our ways of transmitting, our ways of yielding space, our ways of bringing in the young people. And it's hard to connect with the young generation when we still speak the same language. We have to kind of learn how to speak the language of the young people. I'm learning a bit of Gen Alpha language. It's so hard. They speak in terms of memes, and I don't know how to do that yet, I don't think. But it's not like we're all tasked to do that, you see. Each one of us has a role in kind of keeping the fire of community alive. When I was in Australia, just this past month or so, I saw something very beautiful in Australia, because the sangha, the monastic community, didn't start the sangha there until quite late, maybe in the last 10 years or so. But there was a very lively community of lay practitioners in Australia that had kept the fire alive since the 80s, when Tay first came there to do retreats and things like that. And they'd kept the fire of practice alive. And so when we came there just a month or so ago to do a climate retreat and then also a retreat for the local community there, it was so beautiful to see how strong the practice was. And it was thanks to the OI community there. It was thanks to many, the whole stream of practitioners that have kept the fire of practice alive there, even without a monastery, without the monastic presence there. It was lovely to see the monastic presence there, but what I touched there was the importance of community in keeping the practice alive and keeping the fire of practice alive. So we may have those in our sangha, members of our sangha, who all they want is to be able to keep this energy of practice alive, however way they've received it. That's the way they want to transmit it. And that also has its value. That also has its value, because it can keep the fire of practice alive. let alone when you learn how to keep that fire and describe that fire, pass that fire to the younger generation. How much more powerful that also is. So there are creative people in our Sangha. There are those who have a lot more awareness of the suffering going on in the world. And we speak in terms of colonialism, or, we want to heal the aftermaths of colonialism, things like that. We have a new language to speak about the suffering. And we can introduce it to our Sangha to help our community look deeply into it. It's not like, oh, this Sangha is not aware of colonialism at all. This community, they're nowhere close to understanding what decolonizing means. Things like that. So is it our role to bring that in? How can we grow the Sangha? How can we make the Sangha more beautiful and be a source of inspiration? And each one of us, we need that kind of energy. How can I make the Sangha more beautiful? And I think we have to think of the community in terms of 300 years. 300 years from now. What can I do today to add beauty to the community 300 years from now? We have a sister. She loves to garden. Her name is Sister Samadhi. And I heard through the grapevine. It's not a conversation I heard directly from her, but I heard a rumor that she would like to live another 30 years just so she can plant a row of trees and see them to its health. And so that the row of trees can provide beautiful walking path and shade for the community. And when I heard that, I thought, oh, how beautiful. I want to live 30 years just so I can plant that row of trees for the community to enjoy. That's very beautiful. And each one of us, we can contribute something to making the community more beautiful. We can bring all of our understanding and our insights to this kind of koan. Okay, maybe I end with that, so then you can invite 3 sons of the bell. Thank you, dear Sangha, for being here this morning, for being part of this beautiful community. I think my message this morning is simply about how to be unafraid to allow the Dharma and the Sangha and even the Buddha to evolve.